The shocking eruption between Sierra, Mendeecees, and Yandy has quickly become the talk of the town, and trust me, no one saw it coming, yet everyone can't stop buzzing about it. According to insider reports, what was supposed to be a laid-back evening exploded into a fiery storm of accusations, tears, and a slap heard round the room. Word on the street is that the chaos all started when Yandy, holding back for far too long, dropped a bombshell that shifted the entire vibe in an instant. Fans who've been following the drama between these three could already sense the cracks forming, but no one could have predicted how the night would unfold. Picture this. The room was full of friendly chatter, glasses clinking in a celebratory toast, laughter hanging in the air, when suddenly Yandy leaned forward, her calm voice cutting through the chatter like a hot knife. "I can't keep this to myself any longer," she said, her words laced with urgency. In a heartbeat, the mood shifted. Laughter stopped, and the temperature dropped. Sierra's face went from a friendly smile to an icy glare, and all eyes locked on Yandy. The tension was suffocating. The next thing anyone knew, Sierra's hand connected with Mendeecees, a slap that left the entire room speechless. Social media exploded, with fans torn. Some applauded Sierra for standing her ground, while others questioned why Yandy had decided to reveal the secret now. But one thing's for sure, this explosive moment has split not just the group, but the entire online community. It's a saga of betrayal, shock, and unresolved questions. What began as an ordinary night had quickly turned into a chaotic, emotional roller coaster. Sierra had arrived with an air of confidence, her elegance lighting up the room as she greeted everyone. Mendeecees was already seated, sipping his drink and casually chatting, blissfully unaware of the storm that was about to hit. At that moment, everything seemed perfect, laughing, music playing, and the clinking of glasses. But as we all know, in circles like this, peace is always fleeting. Nobody expected Yandy to tear the fragile harmony apart with words that would cut through the air like a blade. She'd been unusually quiet all night, sipping her wine and observing. Then, as the laughter reached its peak, she leaned forward, her tone heavy with something darker. "I can't hold this in anymore," she said, her voice commanding the room's attention. Immediately, the smiles faded and all eyes locked on her. Sierra froze, her fork suspended midair. Mendeecees shifted uncomfortably in his chair, his eyes flickering towards Yandy as if begging her to stay quiet. But it was too late. Yandy continued, her voice unwavering. "There's something Sierra needs to know, something that's been hidden for too long." The room fell completely silent, whispers circulating like wildfire. The tension was palpable. Sierra's voice, when it finally came, was shaky, a sign of the storm brewing inside her. "What are you talking about, Yandy?" Her fingers nervously tapped on her glass as she braced herself for what was about to unfold. With a deep breath, Yandy dropped the truth bomb that would change everything. "I know about the secret," she said, her tone sharp and loaded with frustration. "I know about what Mendeecees has been hiding from you." The words hung in the air like a heavy fog. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Mendeecees scrambled to stop her, his voice cracking with desperation. "Yandy, not here, not now. Don't do this." But his words only stoked the fire, as everyone else at the table leaned in, eager to hear every word. The tension between Sierra, Mendeecees, and Yandy exploded in a way no one could have anticipated. What was supposed to be a peaceful evening of friends gathering soon turned into a chaotic storm of accusations, slaps, and emotional devastation. Behind the scenes, the whispers had been growing louder, but no one expected Yandy to be the one to finally let the truth out. And once she did, it was like a bomb detonating in the middle of a calm dinner. The moment Yandy spoke, the room fell into dead silence. Sierra's face shifted rapidly from confusion to fear, then to a fury so raw it was almost tangible. "A secret from me?" she hissed, her voice slicing through the silence like a whip. "What could be so big that you couldn't tell me?" she demanded, her eyes narrowing, every word filled with a mix of betrayal and disbelief. And that's when Yandy dropped the bombshell that would destroy everything. There's been talk, whispers about a pregnancy, and Mendeecees is involved. He's been lying to you. The table went cold, the air thick with shock. Forks clattered onto plates, gasps echoed through the room, and every jaw dropped in unison. The guests looked at each other, wide-eyed, unable to comprehend what they had just heard. Sierra's body tensed, her eyes locking onto Mendeecees with a glare that could cut glass. Is it true? Her voice cracked with disbelief, her hands trembling, her breath coming out in uneven gasps. Mendeecees, normally so composed, stumbled over his words, his usual confidence evaporating in front of everyone. Sierra, listen. It's not what you think. Things got complicated, and I didn't want to hurt you. But those weak words only made things worse. Sierra stood up so suddenly, her chair scraping loudly against the floor, an audible echo of her fury. Complicated? You call this complicated? Her hand shook as she pointed at him, her chest heaving with anger. The room buzzed with whispers, friends exchanging glances, some covering their mouths in shock. One whispered, "I can't believe this is happening right now." Another murmured, "The internet's gonna go crazy when they hear this." Without warning, Sierra raised her hand and slapped Mendeecees across the face. The sound of it was sharp, slicing through the air, a perfect silence falling in its wake. Gasps filled the room again, louder this time, mixed with exclamations of disbelief. Mendeecees sat frozen, his face stinging, his eyes wide with shock as he stared at the woman he'd betrayed. "You made a fool out of me," Sierra shouted, tears welling in her eyes but not falling yet. "You let me walk around trusting you, smiling, while you were keeping this from me." Her voice cracked, each word filled with raw pain and rage. Mendeecees reached out to her, desperation in his eyes. "Please, just let me explain. It's not like you think. It's not like—" "No," she snapped, pulling her hand away, shaking her head, unwilling to hear his excuses. Yandy sat silently, her face unreadable. Some people at the table thought she was justified for revealing the truth, while others believed she had chosen the worst possible time to do so. But the damage was done. The air was thick with tension, and the others at the table shifted uncomfortably, unsure whether to side with Sierra or stay out of the chaos. One person muttered, "This dinner just turned into a battlefield." And that was exactly what it felt like, a battlefield, where every word was a weapon and every silence was another cut. Sierra's eyes burned into Mendeecees, her heart racing, her breathing heavy as the reality of his betrayal settled in. This wasn't just about them anymore. This was a public war, and soon, social media would explode with their story. But right here, right now, it was raw. It was real. And it was unforgettable. The slap echoed through the room, a sound so sharp and unexpected that it froze time for just a moment. Mendeecees stood there, stunned, one hand instinctively going to his cheek, his eyes wide with disbelief. For the first time, he looked vulnerable, like a man who'd been exposed in front of the world. "You think you could play me like a fool?" Sierra spat, her chest rising and falling in anger. "You thought I wouldn't find out? That I'd just sit back and smile while you lived this double life? Well, guess what? The truth is out now. No more hiding. No more lies." Guests exchanged nervous glances, some covering their mouths, others whispering among themselves. The murmur started low, but it built steadily. "Did that really just happen?" someone whispered. "This is about to get ugly," another muttered under their breath. Finally, Mendeecees found his voice, trembling and desperate. "Sierra, please. Let's not do this here. Let's talk in private. I didn't want it to come out like this." But Sierra wasn't about to let him control the narrative. She laughed bitterly, the sound carrying more pain than humor. "In private? You don't get to hide anymore. You've been hiding for months, sneaking behind my back, lying to my face every day. You made me believe in something real while you kept your secrets. Well, guess what? The truth is out now, and there's no running from it." Yandy, who had been quietly observing the explosion, finally spoke again, her voice steady and sure. "Sierra, I told you because you deserve to know. It wasn't fair to watch you build a future with someone who wasn't being honest with you. Sierra spun on her, eyes blazing. You say you care about me, but you chose the most humiliating way to tell me. You wanted this scene. You wanted everyone to see me break. If you cared, you'd have told me privately. Not like this. Some guests nodded, agreeing with Sierra, while others looked at Yandy, wondering if she had actually done the right thing by forcing the truth out in such a public way. One person leaned over, murmuring, "This is a mess no matter how you slice it." Mendeecees stepped forward, desperation lacing his voice. "Stop turning on each other. This isn't about Yandy. It's about me and my mistakes. Sierra, please, I was going to tell you. I just didn't know how." Sierra's laugh was sharp and bitter. "You didn't know how? Or you didn't want to face the consequences when I found out? You underestimated me." The atmosphere was electric with tension as Sierra's anger continued to swell. The room was on edge, every guest waiting for the next shocking twist in this unraveling drama. Sierra, her voice now dangerously calm, looked at Mendeecees with an icy fury. "You thought I'd cry quietly in a corner while you smiled for the cameras? Look at me now. I'm not the one hiding anymore. You are." The weight of her words seemed to crush the room, and the silence grew unbearable. Finally, one guest, unable to hold back, blurted out, "This isn't even the whole story." The room gasped as the voice cut through the tension, all eyes snapping to the source. Sierra froze, her face morphing from raw rage to suspicion, her eyes narrowing. "What do you mean, the whole story?" she asked, her voice dangerously calm, a simmering fury just beneath the surface. The guest hesitated, clearly regretting speaking up, but unable to back down. "There are rumors. It's not just about the pregnancy. People have said he's been seen with someone else. Someone we all know." The words hit the table like a bomb, and shock rippled across every face. Some gasped audibly. Others turned to Mendeecees, searching his face for any sign of guilt or denial. His face hardened instantly, and with a force that shook the room, he snapped, "That's a lie. Don't bring other people into this. Don't spread gossip when you don't know the facts." But Mendeecees' defensive reaction only fueled more suspicion. Sierra's hands clenched into fists, and as the tears finally spilled down her cheeks, her voice broke with betrayal. "So there's more? After everything, you still can't be honest? Who is it, Mendeecees? Who else have you been betraying me with?" The whispers grew louder, and the room shifted into a frenzy. One guest muttered, "This is going to blow up online so fast." Another shook their head and said, "He looks guilty. He really does." Yandy leaned forward, her eyes sharp and unwavering. "Don't think you can deflect this by calling a gossip." The door slammed behind her, the sound resonating like a final act in a tragedy. For a long moment, the room remained frozen. Mendeecees stood there, staring at the door, his chest rising and falling rapidly. The guests shifted awkwardly, unsure whether to comfort him or avoid him altogether. The air was thick with judgment, pity, and curiosity. And then, almost as if on cue, phones started to buzz. The guests, now turning into spectators, were already posting the scene to social media. Captions like, "The most shocking fight of the season," and "Sierra just slapped the truth out of him," spread like wildfire. The clips of Sierra's dramatic exit, the slap, and the shouting were about to go viral. Yandy sat quietly, hands folded in her lap, her expression unreadable. Some might have assumed she felt remorse for the timing, but it was clear the damage had already been done. Families were divided, friendships shaken, and a relationship was left hanging by a thread. Mendeecees finally sank into a chair, burying his face in his hands. His voice broke as he whispered, "I never wanted it to be like this." But the truth was, it already was, and there was no taking it back. The room was left in stunned silence after Sierra's dramatic exit, the door's heavy slam still echoing in the air. Nobody dared to move at first. It was as if any sudden movement would shatter the fragile tension still hanging there. Mendeecees sat hunched over, his hands covering his face, his body shaking ever so slightly. He looked like a man who had just lost everything because, in many ways, maybe he had. Yandy's eyes lingered on him for a moment before she finally broke the silence with a calm, measured tone. Sierra deserved the truth. It was better to face it now than to keep building her life on lies. Her words didn't land softly. In fact, they struck harder than anything she had said before. One guest immediately spoke up, their voice sharp with disbelief. Better? You call this better? You just humiliated her in front of everyone. You didn't save her. You broke her. A murmur spread across the table, and Yandy's jaw tightened, but she didn't flinch. Sometimes the truth hurts more when it's hidden. I didn't create his secrets. I just refused to keep covering them. Mendeecees finally looked up, his eyes bloodshot and hollow. Stop acting like you did her a favor. You don't know what you just started. She hates me now. She might never forgive me. Before anyone could answer, the door suddenly swung back open. Everyone turned, half expecting Sierra to storm back in for a second round. But it wasn't her. It was one of Sierra's closest friends, returning with updates after clearly following her outside. The tension spiked once again. She's not coming back, her friend announced, her voice cutting through the quiet. She said she's done.
For real this time.
She doesn't even want to see his face again. The words hit Mendeecees like a gut punch. His gaze dropped to the floor, and he shook his head slowly, a broken man. She doesn't mean that, he whispered. But the look on her friend's face said otherwise. A guest leaned closer to Yandy, muttering just loud enough for others to hear. You wanted this. You wanted to see it all fall apart. Yandy bristled, the calm mask she'd worn all night slipping. Don't twist my intentions. I've always cared about Sierra. But the truth was going to come out eventually, and I couldn't sit there and watch her be blindsided later. The tension among the guests escalated, dividing the room into factions. Some rallied behind Yandy, applauding her for exposing a lie that had been festering for too long. Others accused her of orchestrating the ultimate humiliation, choosing the worst possible moment for maximum drama. The phrase truth bomb was already making its rounds, with people fiercely debating whether Yandy was a hero for revealing the truth or a villain for causing chaos. This is only the beginning of a story that will shake everything you thought you knew about love, betrayal, and loyalty. The drama between Sierra, Mendeecees, and Yandy has just reached new heights, and trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Who will rise, and who will fall? Can Mendeecees fix the damage he's done, or is it too late? Stay locked in to find out, and make sure to hit that like button if you're Team Sierra. Don't forget to subscribe for all the latest updates on this explosive saga.